Well, thanks so much for taking the time right now to check out this video. I'm here with my friend Ben Stapley from Liquid Church. Thanks so much, Ben, for taking the time to be with us.
Jay, it's great to be with you. I love what you guys do there at Saddleback. Great to have this conversation.
Yes. Now, the heart behind this is everybody, there's so many people on Church Online. There's actually 4,000 churches using the Church Online platform. People are streaming. Everybody, is just trying to figure out what they're doing. And the heart of this is to really zero in on individual churches and see how they're leveraging. And so their Church Online platform, what they're thinking about doing. And so our hope is, those watching right now, that you feel encouraged and you start thinking bigger and more strategically about the way you're doing Church Online. And so starting with Ben, starting with Liquid Church. So tell us a little bit about Liquid, how old the church is, how long you've been doing Church Online, and how big your church is. And just for those listening, I'm asking that size question, not to kind of compare, but it's really just to help, there is something about how big your church is and how much you can take on. So yeah, those three questions I'm jumping right into the fire.
Yeah, so Liquid Church is being around. We're coming on our 10-year anniversary. Really excited about that. We're located up here in the northeast of Jersey. Our mission is to saturate the state with the gospel of Christ, and we have 6 campuses right now. I came on staff about a year ago and was given the Church Online pastor position under some of my other positions about 6 months ago. So we've been here for a year, took that on. We have about, over the 6 campuses, about 3,500 people on a regular weekend.
Yeah, that's a lot. I love, by the way, every time I hear liquids that saturate, I love that. Saturate the state. It's such a great...
It works.
Yeah, I love that. And just for people understanding, it's at this current moment, it's 2017. We're at the end of January. Like, what percentage of your job are you getting to focus on Church Online right now?
That's a great question. So when I came on, there was another gentleman, a gifted gentleman, Kenny Jang, who some of your audience might know. He was doing this position before me. And he was dedicating, I believe, about a day and a half of his work week to oversee this and pastor these people on this community. In terms of the additional hats that I'm wearing currently and some of our organizational goals, one of them being a big one for us, we're moving towards a new broadcast campus. We've been pushing there for the past 2 years. We see the finish line. And so because of that, it's kind of reduced. It's only about a half a day in the course of my week that I get a chance to focus in on this. And organizationally, we realize, hey, that's probably not the best long-term game plan for us, but we're kind of shelving some of those resources, some of my time, to make sure that we get in well into this broadcast campus. And then after that, we're going to reevaluate, see what my work week looks like, and if more time can be dedicated towards it.
Yeah, I think that's so, it's helpful to know that because, even when I started Church Online, it was a 2-hour a week, went up to 5, 10. It was the same evolution. And it's amazing how sometimes people can look in, especially at Liquid. You guys have a stellar online presence. It's amazing. Your efficiency is, don't take my job, please, Ben. Because it's an amazing presence based off what you guys can do off time. And so it's just helpful for other churches to know that, especially as scaling up. Sometimes you think, you just jump right here. No, there's this crawl, walk, run thing that happens.
Yes. The nice thing too was I've come on as a third person in this position over maybe the past 6 years. People also probably in your community might know Dave Adamson at North Point. He kind of launched this maybe about 5-6 years ago. Kenny came in, and then so I got a chance to stand on some tall shoulders to build off what they did. So for myself, it's like, man, you guys are doing an incredible job. He's only dedicating half a day's work. Well, we have a long history as well. And so I think that's probably key for your listeners to be aware of. It's not only how much time you're dedicating it, but how long you've been in the game and the systems that you've been able to get in place and how much you've been able to automatize and make automatic and not have that work each week. So that's one of the benefits of where I'm at right now, just in terms of our organizational growth, that a lot of the foundation's already been put in place for us.
That's good. Yeah. So with your Church Online, what's the primary goal? Are you local, global, or both? How do you leverage that?
We really focus in locally. I'd say we started with a global audience. Hey, this is incredible, right? Great tool. And we started with a really wide net, and let's reach the world. And actually with Dave Adamson, his background being Australian,
I was going to say,
he had a global perspective, which makes sense. Myself being a Canadian, you might hear some outs and abouts. That is some of my perspective as well. But we organizationally realized that we can't be all things to all people, and we have to be what uniquely God has called us to be. And we really honed in on the mission to saturate the state of New Jersey, with the gospel of Christ. So if we're saturating the state, that means we're choosing not to saturate some other things, like the states themselves or the world. And so because of that, we want to make sure that our online ministry has the same DNA and the same mission as our physical campuses. And so we apply that same philosophy over there. We have about 25% of our viewing audience is in New Jersey. About 50% is in the States, and then the other 50% is in the world. So a quarter of our audience is New Jersey, and we really try to focus in on them. A couple of ways in which we do that. I don't know if this is beneficial for you people, but actual practical ways is we have our service, our chat service times are on Sunday mornings, 9, 10:30, and 12, like kind of typical service times. People ask me, hey, why don't you do it like on Saturday night when someone is like working Sunday morning and they can't come, and like make it available Saturday night. And if we're really trying to saturate the state and try to get people towards our campuses, then if they can't make a Sunday morning service time at one of our campuses, then they really aren't our strong target audience for church online either, because we would like it to benefit both ways and have a cross-pollination. The people of church online are able to migrate over to our physical campuses, and the people at our physical campuses, when needed, can migrate on over to church online. That's one of the ways in which we do it. We always, not always, we just started to integrate campus representation. So we got 6 campuses. So now every Sunday, in one of our hosting spots, we'll pull in somebody from a campus, a worship leader, campus pastor, someone from the family ministries, and say, hey, tell us uniquely what's going on in Morris County, what's going on in Essex County. Tell us about your campus. So people are going to sense, oh, that's something unique there. And again, they realize that we're communicating to them online, but we are highlighting the fact that we have campuses. And so that's some of the ways in which we do it.
Wow.
And then if there's unique serving opportunities as well, most of our serving opportunities are kind of embedded within our campus structure, and so we'll drive people towards that. So I would say highly local.
I love that, pulling in the other campuses. I know we've talked about that even online, to be able to have, in our context, to have different campus pastors host a weekend and somehow do. And I've seen some of that, what you guys have done. That's such a smart. That's a tip. If you take that is such a great idea. I hadn't thought about the idea that with Dave and Kenny and you, the international flavor of just like the way you guys, the vision, like Kenny, I'm still friends with Kenny, and I feel like every time I text him, he's in another country and I can't keep a track of where he's at. But it's interesting that, and then the idea though, that your church does have a very strong vision of saturating New Jersey. And if you're listening, one of the biggest things I could say, and Ben will probably amplify this, if you want to have success with your church online, align with your church's vision. Because if you're trying to fight your leadership's vision or whatever that means in your context, it's, a church's resourced is a very certain way. And to kind of go in tandem with that's probably the way you're going to have the most immediate success. If you want to turn the ship, go for it. But just understand it's going to be difficult.
And some people, even to piggyback on that, some people have the false assumption, like, okay, our church is here at this level, but once we get bigger, my platform will rise and I'll have more say at the table. But there will always be, a lead pastor, and that lead pastor probably won't be overseeing necessarily the church online experience. And so most of the times, whoever's overseeing that has leadership of the church online community experience, they're answering to somebody else. And so your vision is following in the wake of somebody else's.
Yeah. That's good.
Instead of just doing your own.
That's good. So what platform do you use to host your services? And then also, what service do you use to stream it, if you know that?
Yeah. So we use Church Online platform. I've been doing that for a while now. Enjoy it. Like the features on there. It seems to be robust and it kind of meets our needs, which is great. Also great customer support. If something's acting wrong, you can always reach out and get those guys to help. Where we upload our videos and go from there. It seems to work best for our video department, and they're the most familiar with it. Like the features on that in terms of the different levels of privacy that it gives you and affords you if you want to hide something but still make it showable.
Cool.
Yeah.
It broke out just for a second there. What was the streaming provider that you used? The hosting?
Vimeo.
Vimeo. Okay, perfect. Okay. And okay. And does Vimeo does it do live stream at all? Anytime?
So no, and we don't do live stream.
Oh, you rebroadcast. That's right. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, see, look, I tricked myself there. I was like, wait, that's right. You guys only do the rebroadcast, which totally is brilliant. Which I actually kind of love. I have a love-hate relationship with live. So,
we actually have to do that right now. This might be kind of some of your audience may be in this position, but we'll have our first message at our broadcast campus. We'll capture it there. Then we'll get it in the can for our other 5 campuses and for Church Online. So right now we don't have service alignment. We are moving towards that in about a year. And so that's going to be a nut for us to crack for Church Online. How do we get that same day? Because we're going to have to move towards that. And that's it. It's one of those things where not everyone's aware of it. And so we try to kind of hide that behind the curtain as much as possible. And then if people are like, hey, what's going on here? Then we explain it, but we usually don't lead with that foot because it seems to cause more confusion if you answer a question that 90% of the people aren't even asking. So we try to keep that back as much as possible.
Yeah. I remember earlier, like when we started doing rebroadcast in our model, I had a couple angry emails of people that were like, because I think our language was live. We said, oh, it's live now. And it would be like 12 p.m. on Saturday or Monday. And people would be like, this was like 5 years ago. And I got this angry email like, you're lying to me. It's not live. It's rebroadcast. And I actually, the email was so well written. I printed it out and posted it on at my office. I was like, this person had thought so much about this. And I followed up and like, I'm sorry, this is why we're saying this. But it was just like that, some of that stuff inside the inside house that you experience, especially with language like that of rebroadcast live. It's interesting.
That's I know you have like a number of questions and that this isn't necessarily one on there, but is there like a bait and switch that sometimes you need to address as a church body and say, hey, like this is what it is and we're going to call it out. We're not going to try to confuse people.
Yeah.
That's a tension to manage for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when your audience, and that's the hard part. It's like who you're reaching and who you're trying to go after. Maybe those who are coming after might not understand, don't really care about that. But those in-house, you do have to deal with that, especially in transition of change. I know that was something in Saddleback as we were moving away from print advertising to digital. We actually hosted like trainings for our local people to understand Facebook. This was a long time ago. I mean, 7 years ago, but like, it's like if you can get your core on this new thing and understanding it, it just helps long-term overall. But times of change are interesting. So overall, what is your kind of crowd to core strategy? And what I mean is that what does it look like for a new person to interact? And then, what's kind of like the ideal experience of moving them from a new person to connected into community, like specifically with your online?
Yeah. So talked about our audience already. I'm going to answer that question, but before I do, just to lay some foundation, there's for us, our 3 core values or desires with Church Online is, first of all, for it to be a spiritual home for people in a digital environment. So first of all, meeting that need for people who can't come out to a church. What would it look like to minister to those people? Second of all, it's a campus alternative. So, hey, how do we use this tool to best reach the people who are at our campus, if they're plugged into a campus, but they need an alternative because they can't make it. Vacationing, they're sick, they're working. What does it look like to meet those people as well? And then the third kind of value that we bring to the table is it being a welcome mat. In the past, your website used to be your welcome mat. People, hey, I want to check out a church. I don't want to go yet. I want to check it out, so they go to the website and find that out. Now, because everyone has a website, and they kind of distinguish yourself and step up your game. For us, Church Online is like that. Instead of me telling a neighbor, come on out, we have friendly people, and they're relatable. They're actual humans, and you're not going to be weirded out. This isn't some cult thing. How do I do that? Well, if they go check out the Church Online experience, okay, this is kind of what a service is going to be like. And okay, someone said hi, sang a couple songs. Someone gave me a compelling message. Okay, I experienced that online. I'm willing to actually come experience that in person as well. So we see it as a welcome mat for our church. and people coming. And now in terms of the funnel, how do we get them from point A to point B? We do a great job in terms of casting a wide net and making that church online experience great on the one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, we have a number of group communities model after our physical groups. So whatever happens in a physical group should be happening for us in an online group. They're connecting with each other. They're bearing each other's burdens, and then they're caring for the community. So most groups are based on that. How do you love God, love each other, and then love the world? We're not rocket science here. And so that's what we have on both ends of the experience. Now that funnel, which you asked, which is a better question, and I appreciate you asking it, is we're not strong at that right now. So we have people who are plugged in, and we have this wide net and this big audience, but we don't have a great ability to get people from point A to point B right now. That's one of my organizational goals for this year, is to get people through that funnel. Right now for us, it's where we're at is growing leadership. We need stronger leadership at the groups and casting that vision. Where I've found so far is that we'll have a lot of people who have spiritual maturity, strong emotional IQ, and the ability to host and to lead a group. And I found that their natural inclination so far has been to do it in person, that they want to do it in person.
Yeah, of course.
And so taking that same desire and those same skill sets, because we don't want a subpar experience for our online groups, saying that same person, casting that vision that, hey, you can do those same things, but for an online group. And it's not going to be, it's going to be as fulfilling for you to do it for these people. So that's where we are organizationally, creating that funnel, casting vision for potential leaders, getting them in place and trained, and then releasing more people to groups. We have people who want to sign up for groups. Yeah. A lot of people who want to come and participate, or even consume, but not necessarily contribute, not necessarily lead the group. And I don't know this. I'm going to throw this question back at you. Have you on camera. It's going to be a learning experience for me too. Have you found that to be the case with the online community, where most online people, it's a chance for us to kind of consume content, not necessarily contribute because we're not physically here? Have you found that attention for your online community? Or is that just something kind of unique to me? And if so, how do you overcome that default consumption mindset for an online experience?
Well played. Just turning the tables. I like this. Yeah, I definitely think that consuming content online is really easy. And because it's so simple for people to jump into an experience online, you tend to be, you're just in consume mode. And I think that's where we have that issue where, I think it's the issue, but I think it's just large churches have this problem where Liquid has this barrier. I'm assuming that it's so easy for people to just sit in a service and just leave without ever talking to somebody. And we see that, and I bet Liquid sees that as a pro, because we want people to feel so welcome to just come in and sit. But at the same time, I know at Liquid, if somebody attends Liquid for 10 weeks and they say, I never got connected, and you're like, no, you heard us say, go out and talk to somebody. They probably agree to talk to them every week. They had a bulletin. And so it's like, I feel like the same things are highlighted online where it is consuming, but we want to make it so easy. And so that's why I think, and I see you guys do this where like, that's why like in the intros and the outros, it's like, fill out that response card. We want to talk to you. And we have that follow-up where it's there. And I think those are the things that the easier I make it and the more prominent I make it for them to fill out that response card, we've broken down some of those barriers. But I don't really, and I just might be naive because I'm in my own online bubble, but I think the same issues that's the same issue locally as it is online. And it's just because of our strategy. And I think it comes along with the same way that like your pastor and your teaching team and my teaching team are like, they're so evangelistic that part of that is that you just have a lot of through traffic, and it's the pros and cons of that where you see it as a less of a loss and more of a gain. But so one question kind of just to tack onto that. Do you meet with people who do you do a lot of handoffs to physical campuses where somebody watches online, they somehow fill out some kind of card? Do you connect with people locally, and hand them off to a campus? Is that does that happen? Part of your strategy?
So that is most of the times I'm kind of tethered to our broadcast campus because of some of my other responsibilities. So I'll always say, hey, if you're there, check it out.
Yeah.
If you want to meet out, I get a chance to periodically go and visit our other campuses. So let me know. So when that happens, I'll do that. But usually at that point, and I'll tell them, hey, you want to meet at campus X? That's great. I'm not going to be there for another 3 months. Let me open up an email dialogue. Let's get the campus pastor involved here, because I would like to do that, but I don't want their growth and their connection. I don't want myself to be the bottleneck for the growth and connection. And so I'll definitely meet that gap beforehand at our non-broadcast campuses. But at a broadcast campus, I definitely want to do that handoff, that personal touch, and then get them assimilated and connected there as quickly as possible.
That is I get that. I feel like I get that every other week right now, where somebody will be at a campus, say, hey, somebody from your online community is here. And I'm like, I'll be like middle of lunch or something. And I'm like, I can't, like, it's like they just show up and I'm so glad, but at the same time, I can't be everywhere. And so
do you have other responsibilities at a campus? And the reason I ask, and this might be for some of your audience, but I'm sure a lot of other people wear multiple hats, but I usually produce our services at our broadcast campus as a creative arts pastor. That's my big umbrella, and kind of church online, one of those underneath there. And so oftentimes I'll be in production mode.
Of course.
Someone want to connect with me pastorally, and I'm in that tension of saying, I can't now.
I got to go live and like... I gotta go like literally like this.
I'm just watching the countdown clock of the peripheral vision, all conversation.
I don't have any other responsibility. It wasn't always that way. I used to. That changed about 3.5 years ago. So I'm full time online. I'm a unicorn in that way, where I get to focus only on that. But I will say where it becomes unique is that we do have like all staff things. And that's actually part of the reason Saddleback is dividing up this central, because I used to forever be connected to our main campus, and in all staff things I would show up, and that would compete with my online responsibility. So I might have to like pack things, but I also have to be present online at the same time. And so that's where I have had some of that pull where it gets a little messy, but going to central model in our church structure is gonna fix some of those issues. But yeah, I've had that in the past, but right now I haven't had that issue. I'm weird now. Like I don't have to be at like local services for like anything. Like I have to do baptism rotation and a couple of those things where I help out on those things, but I really, for the most part, I don't. So yeah. So okay. I like that this has gone back and forth. I think that's a helpful dialogue for people.
I apologize for hijacking the conversation so much.
I hope someone's watching that was encouraging, because it is a good question. It's good because the more I do what I do, like it's a reminder of like where we're at compared to where other people can be at, because they can be like, Jay, you're doing so much, or Ben, you're doing, and it's like, no, well, this is where even knowing, you've had some really cool people come before you, and thinking where that gives you some perspective. And so it's helpful. It's like, well, how did you guys get there? You got to know the journey. But okay. So my last question, what's your top online tool that you wish you had when you got started?
I'm going to cheat here because I wrote some down. Again, this is a bad question for me because the infrastructure was pretty much put in place before I got here. And so, a lot of our stuff was already there in place. Right now, some of the things we're toying with and we're trying to carve out time to make use for. So I don't know if it's something that we need, but I want to explore. It's just the 360 camera experience. Is that beneficial? Just talking with some of our creatives today saying, oftentimes I'll try to lead discussions where I'm purposely not the smartest person at the table, but just saying, hey, what would you guys want to experience? And the distinction we had there was, most of your services are framed with content coming from the stage, right? Like the house lights are dimmed. Everyone's looking forward. The seats are arranged looking forward. You're purposely not supposed to, you're given 1 minute during the service to connect with people beside you. But other than that, don't look at them or engage with them. And so that wouldn't be optimal 360 experience. In fact, it might be counterintuitive if the person who's looking to the preacher turns around and then, hey, we're the cute girls in the front row. And
totally.
Maybe what they're not supposed to be doing. But we have other events. Like we just did recently our new broadcast campus. We did a tour through that gosh, man, if we had the 360 camera there, that's immersive. Or some of our youth events, like they had a paint war, and it'd be awesome to put that in the middle, and that could be an experience. So we're toying with that tool, but I got a feeling church online is not the right community for it yet.
Yeah.
That's one thing we're considering. Also the Facebook Live option.
Have you Facebook Live to service?
We haven't done that yet. We've done, and this is the other tension because we're a week off. We can't even have our teaching pastor saying, "Hey, it's Sunday morning. I'm driving." So excited about this because it confuses people. So we haven't been able. We tap into that when it's an all church event. Like, hey, everybody, it's Baptism Sunday at all our campuses this Sunday, or we're all doing the Thanksgiving outreach this weekend. We'll use it for those church-wide events that are happening at the same time, but our services aren't structured that way, so we can't.
Yeah, a lot. No, totally. And then I want to just preface this. If you're watching this, it is January 2017. And so with Church Online, stuff can change so quick. Yeah. And so just if you might jump on Liquid's experience, you're like, oh, hey, they are doing this. It's like, let's timestamp this right now. So dude, thank you so much, Ben, for taking the time. You really, the ministry you're doing, so cool. And then we'll put some links. You're doing some cool stuff with training with how to do, video announcements and some other cool stuff that if you're watching this, listening, I probably did a bunch of video stuff that was wrong. And so in hosting, but thanks so much for taking the time. And if you're watching, we got more of these coming. Go to jkranda.com and check out the links for everything and all the social links to what Ben's doing, and more to come.